combined pre-council council meeting for February 18th, 2020. The Honorable Mayor Bob Oderkirk presiding. We will start the meeting with prayer from Father Chris Grow from St. Mary Magdalene on Briggs Street, and Father will also lead us in the pledge following the prayer.
Let us pray. Almighty God, you generously bestow your gifts upon us in abundance, and we are grateful for all that you do for us and for the many favors you grant your people. We gather in your name. We ask your enlightenment so that everything that is done this evening may be done with your inspiration and your wisdom. God of wisdom and justice, it is through you that all authority is rightly administered, laws are enacted, and judgments are decreed. Guide and support our mayor, members of our city council, our interim city manager, as well as our city staff. Give them the strength to know your will so that all decisions may be pleasing to you. May their work be conducted with righteousness, and may they always promote what is for the good and welfare of the citizens of Joliet. We likewise commend to your care all the residents of our city, that they too may be blessed and sanctified. Together may we all work for the betterment of our community and enjoy the blessings promised to those who remain faithful to you. For we pray to you, our living and true God, now and forever. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You're supposed to ask to see your other shirt.
I get the father to see. Good seeing
We'll begin with roll call. Mayor Oderkirk.
Here.
Councilman Dickinson.
Here.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Here.
Councilman Hug.
Here.
Councilman Morris.
Here.
Councilman Mudrin.
Here.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Here.
Councilwoman Reardon.
Here.
Councilman Turk.
Here.
First is Mayor Oderkirk appointments. We have none this evening. Approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as written with the following change? Remove Council Memo 97-20, which is award a contract for the Joliet Multimodal Regional Transportation Center Bid Package 1B Bus Station and Turnaround.
So moved. Second.
In motion and seconded to approve, Councilman Dickinson.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Question, why are we removing that today?
Mayor and Council, this item is being removed again because, excuse me, IDOT is still reviewing the paperwork for the bid.
Paperwork.
Yes,
Okay. I'll vote aye, thank you.
thank you.
Councilwoman Reardon.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Motion carried. Citizens to be heard on agenda items. Mary Beth Gannon regarding Council Memo 95-20.
Okay. I would just like to put in perspective some salaries. I did a little bit of homework here, facts help. I was looking at Physicians Weekly, and the average salary for a pediatrician in America is $212,000 a year. A doctor who makes a lot less than Mr. Jones. That doesn't seem right. Looking at Forbes, the average low for a teacher in America is $41,000. The average high is $85,000. I also went on the U.S. Bureau of Labor and Statistics. An aerospace engineer only gets paid $109,000 a year. Something's just not adding up here. Going on ZipRecruiter, the national average pay for a city manager in America is $94,174. What's going on? We don't have that kind of money here. We're a poor city. Looking at Indeed.com, it's $61,592 a year for a city manager. Where are you getting all this money to pay him so much? You know, I believe Councilman Hugg had brought up back in May that we would be in this position if we let Mr. Jones extend his contract, that we would be in this very predicament right now. And it doesn't seem that long ago that when Mr. Hawk was here, I believe we were only paying him about $180,000. So why the huge increase? Also, while we're on the subject, I really hope that if you do extend this contract for him, which would be a bad decision for all of us, that you don't replace him with Nick Palmer. He has 0 experience. Thank you.
Audrey Secco?
Hi, I'm also here to speak of the city manager's job. I'm hoping that this doesn't drag out any further. And I've been following this job pretty closely, and I have been gone for 3 weeks, 4 weeks here and there, so I might have missed some things. But from what I remember, after you paid David Hales to go away, a few months later you fired Marty. Then you generously gave Jones a pay increase to remain interim city manager, which it's my understanding that in his economic development manager contract that he would assume the job of interim city manager by default if needed. I never understood the reason for that raise and you being so generous with our money. I also remember 5 of you wanted Hawk to be the next city manager. After a month or so, then you decided Hawk shouldn't be the city manager. So then you decided to hire an outside firm to do a search. More time goes by. Then you decided, no, you're going to do your own search. At this time, Councilman Mudrin stated he can think of several local Joliet businessmen that would be good for the job and would apply. Then some genius on the council comes up with the bright idea to administer personality tests to the remaining candidates, neither being from Joliet, so I can only conclude the local businessmen that Mudrin had in mind didn't have enough personality for the job. I look a lot at the city manager's job as being a good bean counter, like Marty was. I've worked at 3 major companies, and the best bean counters I dealt with didn't have personalities, but they kept their nose in the numbers and constantly tried to turn a dime into a dollar for the company. That's what this city needs. That's what I want in a city manager, not personality. I've watched you 5 play your power games and your power voting. And all you're doing is thumbing your nose at the people that trusted and voted for you. So much for honesty and transparency. Councilman Turk, once again, I'm reminding you of an expression you're fond of using about not kicking the can down the road. Well, right now, this can has rolled for a long time, and it's time to crush it. I'm going to say again what I told you in December. Quit playing your stupid games and hire a permanent city manager and start working as a united council of 9 and work for Joliet, not against each other. Quit wasting our money and everyone's time. We've all had enough of it. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak on an agenda item this evening? Moving on to council committee reports. First is diversity and community relations.
Yes, Your Honor, the Diversity Committee met here in the council chambers on February 12th. Present the members, Councilwoman Quildren, Councilman Mudrin, along with myself and city staff. What came before us there, we had a discussion with the Mayor's Commission on Residents with Disabilities, and they put in the People's First language. They brought that before the committee. And this language was developed back in 1991 on the Mayor's Committee that was established by Mayor Connor. The residents came before us to discuss the People's First language and communications in our ordinances. And we also discussed reasonable accommodations as it relates to the meeting notices for our citizens with disabilities, the clearing of sidewalks for the elderly and persons with disabilities, as well as the summer internship for persons with disabilities. Along with that, they had brought us a recommendation. Kendall, thank you so much for the information that you put here on the dais about the city of Rockford and what they're doing. So in terms of using sign language interpreters and personal PA systems. So we want to make sure that our residents with disabilities are included. We also discussed a disparity study that was brought up by a resident and that cost. Mr. Jackson stated to us that he would bring back more information on that at next month's meeting. And also we had a staff from Neighborhood Services that gave us an update of the requirements of federal grants for small and minority businesses, women-owned business enterprises, labor labor surplus area firms. And so those are the things that we discussed at that meeting. My council people, Councilwoman Quillman, Pat, do you have anything to add to that? Did I cover?
No, you covered it all, buddy.
Okay, all right. That is the end of our report, sir.
Economic Development Committee.
Yes, I'm going to give the report this evening for the Economic Development Committee. Councilman, Chairman, Mr. Hub wasn't able to be there. He was under the weather. I finally figured out how to quiet him down, give him a cold. When I tried to talk to him that day, he wasn't very talkative, so.
Well, you also locked the door on me, so.
I tried that before. So in attendance was myself and Councilman Dickerson. We were co-chairs. Takes both of us to fill Larry's seat. So we had a short agenda. We moved for approval of the senior city staff and 3 city council members to the 2020, let me put my glasses on, CSC conference in Las Vegas. I heard that it's like the Super Bowl of conferences for cities and municipalities of other sizes, towns to come to reach out to different vendors, to bring them commercial business back to their city, and also that sometimes it takes multiple years to possibly, bring, a company here. So the contacts is like a continuous contact. So for the last 3 years, the city, or 2 years, 3 years, I believe it is, the city of Joliet has went to this conference. So this year would be the first year that we increase the number of members to go, and that will help to kind of fulfill getting around meeting everyone. So that will be sent to the full council for approval of that. It was a dollar amount. Don, do you remember what per member? I didn't write this.
I thought it was like around $2,000.
Around $2,000, yeah.
Per person.
Per person for airfare, hotel, and that's basically it, I think.
And I would only add that actually it's under the spending limit where it needs to come to the council, but for full transparency, the committee wanted it to come to the council.
Right.
And I would also say that many people know that I'm a cheap son of a gun and that I'm very pessimistic about some things. And so when I went there for the first time last year, up until then, Councilman, we had staff members that went there, one staff member being Derek for 2 years. And I fully expected to come back to you folks and say, no, we're not going to waste a dime. And it was an impressive opportunity to make a difference. And you just can't cover, it is such a big convention with 25,000, I think it's 25,000 exhibitors, or 25,000 people there, 5,000 exhibitors. They have a bus service to go to one end of the trade show to the other. You can't even walk it. So I came back, and remember the report last year? And we actually did, Derek's not here, we did have one project that came out of that was solidified there because we were there. That may have already paid for last year's costs. So being the pessimist that I am, I'm a true believer now. And thank you for taking over as chairman.
Yeah, well, thank you, Mr. Cole. Don, you had anything?
And you too, Don.
That's it. You
That's
covered
it.
everything?
Right. Derek, he also, we didn't act, this wasn't anything to act on for the co-counsel, but he gave us a discussion of availability of state and federal historic tax credits. It would be some sense of the federal government kicking in 20% and the state kicking in 25%. This would help entice different developers to come to the city. This would be a historic, I guess he kind of explained it like a TIF district or some sort, but every property in that district does not have to have the historic, what word I'm looking for, credit or the historic placed on it. But those that are will be entitled or in place to apply for these federal and state tax credit. So that was discussed, and Derek is going to get back with us with more information on that.
Yeah, it would be similar to like Plainfield's historic district, Naperville's historic district. You know how you see the signs in Naperville and Plainfield? It would be something similar to that.
Right, thank you. Yep, I think that's it. I think that's it, ma'am.
Finance Committee report?
The Finance Committee comprised of Councilwoman Reardon, Councilman Mudge, and myself met at 5:30 this evening to review the following items. We reviewed the December 2019 Riverwalk Homes LLC financial statements. The revenues came in a little bit higher, about $290,000 higher than expected. So for a net income for the year right now is about $101,000. Those are unaudited statements. The Wilmer Rogers will be coming in doing their audit on those in the next couple months. We also looked at their budget for the year 2020, and the budget is pretty much on track with last year as far as reflecting expenses and revenues. We also reviewed the monthly financial reports, which are all basically routine items. Personnel summary, travel expense report, invoices paid report, and found them all to be in order and recommend their approval. That's it.
Prison Committee report?
Yes, Mayor and Council, the Prison Committee met on February 10th, 2020 at 4 o'clock. And in attendance was Councilwoman Gavin, Councilwoman Reardon, city staff, and Prison Coalition members. We discussed the requisition for authorization to award a contract for the old Joliet prison exterior lighting. Following an RFP process and a contract negotiations, recommendation of $147,814.50 lighting contract. Lighting will provide opportunity for automatic color changes. There'll be multiple colors. Will include the administration building and the south wall of the prison. This is part of the Tourism Attraction Grant Program, which will be 50% state and 50% funded. And it's coming to council with a positive recommendation, and it's coming under number 105-20.
Next is Public Service Committee report.
The Public Service Committee met this afternoon at 4:30 here at the City Hall in the Executive Conference Room. On the committee in attendance was Councilwoman Gavin, Councilman Morris, and myself. Also in attendance was Public Works Director Jim Trisna and his staff, and Public Utilities Director Allison Swisher and her staff, are members of. It was a routine agenda. We looked at 5 contracts and vetted the contracts that had been let and opened and let. We also looked at the change orders and such and found everything to be in order. The only thing that I think I'll take a moment to point out is the first item on the contract was a request for authorization to award a contract for the Fairmont Meter Replacement Program. Now, this will be paid for by CDBG funds from the county. This is a cooperative effort between the city and the county to help folks in the Fairmont. Fairmont is not part of Joliet, has not been incorporated in Joliet. Long and the short of it, this entire council and every member of this community, the city of Joliet, should be proud of the compassion we showed the families in Fairmont to help them get water, maintain their water system without having it go to a private company that would have quadrupled their bills. We're not losing any money on this act of kindness, this act of caring, and we're not making any money really on it. We're doing it as a community, and in today's increasingly combative and gotcha society, it's great for a community to reach out to another community who really needs your help and actually help them. And I want to commend everybody on this council because all 9 of us voted yes. And I want to commend staff, Allison Swisher and her staff for doing it. And I want to thank the citizens of Joliet for letting us do such an act of kindness to another neighboring community. Other than that, I don't think I've left anything off. As I said, we went through the routine items on change orders, pay estimates, and final payments, as well as contracts, and as well as ordinances and resolutions. And we found everything to be in order, correct? And everything was unanimously voted on to be recommended for approval to all 9 members of this council. 1 item was removed. The same item that was already discussed and removed was removed from ours because IDOT hasn't completed their work on the multimodal paperwork, as Jim Trisna pointed out. And I think that I covered everything, yes?
Yes.
That's my report, Mayor.
Stadium Committee report.
Stadium Committee met Thursday, February 13th, 4:30 in the Executive Conference Room. On the committee is Councilwoman Quillman and Councilman Turk and myself. We have one major item that the stadium has an issue with. Mike Hewitt's detailed the information that had been put together from Rudiger Tonelli and Associates. There's a drainage problem on both sides, the right and the left field side, that the dirt is running down onto the turf, which causes problems that it would have to be replaced. This went out for bid to put drainage underneath it, as the slope is very steep. We had about 5 bids come in, 6 of them went out. The lowest bid was for just over $64,000 from PT Farrell, which will be on our agenda later. Like you also gave the report of a number of other items that are being replaced and painted, some office carpeting, some upgrades to a couple of the other restrooms there, caulking up windows, things of that nature that are continuing ahead in looking for a huge successful season again for the Slammers. John Wilson from the Slammers was there, gave his report that at this stage they only have 4 weekends that are open dates for tournaments to come in to be played. They have up the amount of play. There's going to be T-ball games on a T-ball game league on Mondays that the players are going to help the youth with. The women's soccer that's played there. There's a new soccer 3-on-3 that's gotten to be very popular that is set to play there, as well as they have a new website. And anybody like to add anything to the report? Not? That's my report.
Thank you.
I show no other reports. Under consent agenda, approval of the minutes. It's recommended the minutes of the special meeting held on January 29, 2020, the minutes of the pre-council meeting held on February 3rd, 2020, and the minutes of the council meeting held on February 4th, 2020 stand approved as recorded. Invoices paid report. It's recommended this report be received and placed on file. Is there a motion to approve said consent agenda items?
So moved.
Second?
Been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Hugg.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillen.
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson.
Aye.
Motion carried. Under public hearings, Council Memo 82-20, Ordinances and a resolution associated with 118 Mills Road. This includes an ordinance approving the annexation of 3.79 acres located at 118 Mills Road, an ordinance approving the classification of 3.79 acres located at 118 Mills Road to I-1 Light Industrial Zoning, and a resolution approving the annexation agreement for 3.79 acres located at 118 Mills Road. This is a public hearing, so comments would be in order at this time.
Would anyone like to speak on this issue? Yes.
Mayor, members of the council, my name is Dave Silverman. I represent the applicant in this matter. Also, Mike and Pat Polson from Rendell's are here to answer any questions, and Tom Carroll from Geotech if you have any engineering questions. Rendell's has been doing business in the city of Joliet for over 90 years. We think the use is consistent with the nearby zoning and land uses, and ask for your approval.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let the record show the hearing is now closed. Is there a motion to approve Council Memo 82-20, ordinances and a resolution associated with 118 Mills Road?
So moved.
Second?
Been motion seconded to approve. Councilman Hugg?
Aye.
Councilman Morris?
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin?
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman?
Just another 90 years, I vote aye.
Councilwoman Reardon?
Aye.
Councilman Turk?
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin?
Aye.
Motion carried. Next under public hearings is Council Memo 83-20, ordinances and a resolution associated with 3805 Rollingwood Court. This includes an ordinance approving the annexation of 1.0018 acres located at 3805 Rollingwood Court, an ordinance approving the classification of 1.0018 acres located at 3805 Rollingwood Court to R1 Single Family Residential Zoning, and a resolution approving the annexation agreement for 1.0018 acres located at 3805 Rollingwood Court. This is a public hearing, so comments would be in order at this time.
Is there anyone who'd like to speak on this issue?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Gene Keno with the law firm Mahoney Silverman Cross. I represent the applicant, Patrick Killian and Andy Killian. Patrick is a Joliet fire officer, and he needs his annexation in order to meet the residency requirement. This is a situation where he loves his job and he loves his home, and with this annexation, he's allowed to keep them both. They apologize for not being here tonight. Patrick's on duty, and Andy's traveling for work, but their parents are here to lend their support, and I ask that you approve this annexation.
Mayor?
Yes.
And just to be clear, sir, any costs that would be associated with this annexation will be on the homeowners.
Absolutely. If there's any type of tap-in fees or to the water or sewer, that will be borne by the applicant.
And, you know, I personally welcome anybody who wants to pay their way into our city and give us taxes.
Sure. Any questions?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let the record show the hearing is now closed. Is there a motion to approve Council Memo 83-20, ordinances and a resolution associated with 3805 Rollingwood Court?
So moved.
Second.
In motion seconded to approve, Councilman Morris?
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin?
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman?
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon?
Aye.
Councilman Turk?
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin?
Aye.
Councilman Hugg?
Aye.
Motion carried. Under ordinances, Council Memo 85-20, ordinances associated with 1215 Hobart Road. This includes an ordinance approving a variation of use to allow construction of a 135-foot monopole tower wireless facility and accompanying ground equipment, a B3 general business use in an R1 single-family residential zoning district located at 1215 Hobart Road, and an ordinance approving a special use permit to allow construction of a 135-foot monopole tower wireless facility and accompanying ground equipment located at 1215 Hobart Road. It's recommended said ordinances be adopted.
So moved.
Second?
It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Mudrin?
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman?
Just a quick question for Kendall. Are we providing, what do you call it? Money set aside if they ever have to tear it down, they have to, it's at their cost?
Yeah, so removal bond, yes.
Yes, a bond, thank you. I vote aye.
Councilwoman Reardon?
Aye.
Councilman Turk?
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin?
Aye.
Councilman Hugg?
Aye.
Councilman Morris?
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo 86-20, an ordinance approving a variation of use to allow expansion of an adjacent winery distillery and event space into a vacant office building, a B3 general business use in an R5 high-density multifamily residential zoning district located at 425 North Summit Street. It's recommended said ordinance be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
Been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilwoman Quillman.
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo 87-20, an ordinance declaring certain properties as public nuisances.
I know I'll jump in here. On occasion, council has questions about properties that we are designating or recommending for designation as nuisances. This particular property is located at 1836 Kendall Ridge, and there's a photo in your packet showing that it's very heavily damaged. Unfortunately, we're at an impasse with regard to a foreclosure process. So in effect, with the lender, the homeowner, and all parties sort of waiting for that to happen, we felt it was necessary to proceed with this nuisance designation. Hopefully, we can get an order of demolition or get something resolved out here quickly.
Was this house obviously a fire?
Yes.
That wasn't the house that was hit by a small aircraft, was it?
I don't think so.
No? Okay. Remember that a couple of years ago?
Is there a motion to approve Council Memo 87-20, an ordinance declaring certain properties public nuisances?
So moved.
Second.
Been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilwoman Reardon.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman.
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo 88-20, an ordinance amending the 2020 annual budget for the City of Joliet to add additional funding for required training of police department employees. It's recommended said ordinance be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman.
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon.
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo 89-20 is an ordinance approving the vacation of a portion of Webster Street and an adjacent portion of a north-south alley. It's recommended said ordinance be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
Been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Dickinson.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman.
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Motion carried. Under resolutions, Council Memo 91-20, a resolution appropriating funds for the Phase 3 engineering services for the Black Road Traffic Signal Interconnection Improvements Project. It's recommended said resolution be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman.
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson.
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo 92-20, a resolution appropriating motor fuel tax funds for the Logan Avenue roadway project. It's recommended said resolution be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
Been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo 93-20, a resolution approving an agreement with the Illinois Department of Transportation for the construction and Phase 3 engineering services for the Black Road Traffic Signal Interconnection Improvements Project. It's recommended said resolution be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
Been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Before I vote, just to be brief, and Jim, correct me if I'm wrong, we went over this. Just so people know, This is a project that runs the gamut of Black Road going all the way to Oneida, I think, right?
Actually, it's on Black Road from 59 east to Six Corners. So the Rainer, Ruby, Black, that intersection.
And the long and the short of it for the average resident is it's going to tie these electronically together so that theoretically, if you do the 40 miles an hour, the entire stretch, and you hit a green light, you should never have to stop. It's going to improve traffic flow, and it's an 80-20 expenditure. 80% is from the state through a federal grant, 20% is the cities, just so people know. With that said, I wanted to explain that. Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo 94-20, a resolution appropriating funds for the construction of the Black Road Traffic Signal Interconnection Improvements Project. It's recommended said resolution be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
Been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman.
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Hugg.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo 95-20 is a resolution entering into an employee leasing agreement with GovTemps USA LLC and Illinois Limited Liability Company.
Excuse me.
Krista, before we get into that, I think we need an explanation. Steve, you probably shouldn't comment on this. So maybe Marty, if you could explain to the public what this is?
Sure. This is an agreement with GovTemps LLC for the placement of a contract employee with the city of Joliet. So that contract employee will be for city manager, and it's understood that that person will be Steve Jones.
And can you explain what this means in real terms, dollars?
Sure.
Who gets paid what?
So essentially, we, the city, are entering into an agreement with GovTemps USA, and we are going to pay GovTemps USA for a contract employee, and we are going to be billed at $135.10 an hour, with a maximum number of hours of 40 per week. So this includes all of their fees, so the only thing that we'll get from GovTemps USA is a bill per hour.
And why, Marty, if you can, why are we paying GovTemps USA to hire an employee who already works here?
Because he's retiring.
Are you done? May I speak?
Sure.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to amend this Council Memo 9520, the employee leasing agreement with GovTemps USA LLC to include the position of Economic Development Director at a rate of $91 per hour. And if we could call on Kathy Franzen to go over the costs differences between what we currently pay for the interim city manager and what the difference would be in paying as a contract employee. And if you could also go over the differences for Economic Development Director, what we pay as a city employee, including all benefits, and what we would pay GovTemp.
Well, Kathy, while you do that, if you can add to your answer why we pay GovTemps, why we would consider paying GovTemps to hire an employee who already works for the city, number one. And then number two, what everyone up there, what the benefit packages are, go down the row of what everyone's making there, and why we're not contracting out for those jobs also. If you can give that explanation, please.
Okay, let me address the city manager position first. So the current salary for the city manager, along with stipends, additional IMRF, FICA, healthcare, life, ADD, and insurance, dental, that total annual compensation comes in at $263,800, or an hourly rate of $141.52. The proposed contract with GovHR Temps, is for $135.10 per hour, with an approximate annual savings of $11,974, hourly savings of $6.42. This information on the city manager does not include vehicle or gas. It comes in about $4,050 per year, and a phone at about $420 a year. So that covers the city manager fees. With Economic Development Director.
Mayor?
Yes.
Quick question before you go further, Kathy.
Sure.
You said the total for the current position, including benefits and other expenditures, is $263,800?
Yes.
And we're going to spend $135.10 per hour for a maximum of 40 hours?
The maximum contract, proposed contract is 1,864 hours.
Okay. So it's not a full-time position?
It's not a 2080. It reduces by holiday pay.
So based on a full-time schedule, and we certainly, as a third largest city, anticipate and would expect our head person to be full-time. If it was on a 40-hour a week, it would be 281,000 is the accurate number. So to save money, we're cutting back on the hours that our city manager is going to manage the city on of 152,000, third largest city in the state. We are now diminishing the number of hours for that position to accommodate the person that wants the contract. Okay, I'm done here.
Sure.
Kathy, I assume then, the way you got to the 1,864 is as a contract employee, which I personally am. I don't get paid for holidays, I don't get paid for time off, I don't get paid for any so-called vacation time, which would be the same once Mr. Jones would become a contract employee.
That's correct.
Mayor?
Yes. Kathy, let's remove you from the, it's not fair to put you in this position.
This isn't
I
directed at
apologize
Kathy.
for what I asked you to do. I'll do it myself. Go ahead.
So it's not a fair comparison to say we're saving money at $263,800 because that's for a part-time employee versus the full-time salary and benefits of $263,000. I personally, as a member of this council and as a citizen of this community, expect my city manager to be a full-time, minimum 40 hours a week. If somebody disagrees with that concept, now would be the time to express that.
Yep.
I disagree that everyone in the particular class of, I'll say, upper management that the city manager is in has accrued so much vacation time as well as holiday time, which yesterday was a holiday here. Whether anybody worked or didn't work, that was their choice, but that was not considered in their pay. So Mr. Jones would be considered, in my opinion, still a full-time employee working his 40 hours.
Just so I'm clear, when we talked about this in executive session 2 weeks ago, Councilman Mudgeon, both you and Councilman Turk stated that it's not the city council's job to hire an economic development director. Remember saying that?
Correct.
Okay, so do you still stand by that?
Yeah.
This is just to have
Yes,
in
yes,
the
yes,
contract.
No, why are you shaking your head?
No,
Yes,
let
you
me
just
talk.
made a
Let me
motion.
speak.
No, I have the floor. You just made a motion to include the position of economic development director. Why would this council consider hiring the economic development director if two of your cohorts said privately that it's not our role to do that? It's up to the new city manager to make that decision.
And I agree with that. I'd just like to have it within the contract so that we don't have to come up here again and redo this motion. It'll be there, but it'll be up to the city manager that we hire to make that decision.
Well, why don't we let him decide if he wants to do a contract employee or if he wants to hire someone new who'll be a full-time economic development director? Why would you make that decision for him?
I'm not making that decision.
Yes, you are. If you make the motion to vote on it tonight, and you two vote on it after you just said privately that it's not your role to do this, you're being hypocrites. You're doing exactly the opposite of what you said in executive session.
Well, you know, this is a city manager form of government, and my comment in closed session was the only person we hire is a city manager.
So why are you
And then-
including that position in this motion? Make the motion about the city manager, we'll discuss the merits of it. You're throwing a whole other job that you're all
not
admitting
throwing-
you have no role in hiring. So why would you do that?
Exactly. I don't know.
You don't know?
We'd have to do
No,
the
I didn't
hiring.
ever discuss it with anybody.
No, clearly you guys haven't discussed
This
it.
just makes it
Obviously,
available
yeah.
to the city manager to hire in that position.
He could do it, he
that way.
doesn't need your motion to do that.
Okay, fine.
So withdraw your motion then. Stick to your word, what you say privately, follow up publicly for once. Actually act out here what you're saying in private.
You actually said my cohorts were the ones that stated that, not me.
Well, from what I remember, the only one who admitted to this scheme was Councilwoman Gavin. You said very explicitly you want to hire Mr. Jones as the Economic Development Director. And I actually complimented you for being the only one of the 5 who was being honest. Turns out I was right.
To me, it wasn't a scheme, but you asked me what did I want. I told you exactly what I wanted, so I didn't think it was a scheme.
I characterized it as a scheme. I'll give you credit.
Okay.
You're the only one of the 5 that was honest about it. Councilman Dickinson, why don't you answer a question? Why would we pay gov temps to hire a person who's already working for the city? Why would you give a penny of Joliet tax dollars to a company just to hire Steve Jones?
This is what we agreed to. This is what we agreed to when we...
Who agreed to?
We did.
No, I did not. I never agreed to it. I agree with Councilman Hogg. I think it's unethical. It's not illegal. It's a loophole. This is part of the reason why the pension system in Illinois is going bankrupt, because of double dippers. Councilman Hogg was right. I never agreed to any of this, so don't say we. If you and the Mudron 5 agreed to it, then say that. But you haven't answered the question.
The five council members.
Right. Why would you give a penny of Joliet taxpayer dollars money to gov temps to hire Steve Jones? He's already an employee here.
This is what we agreed to. We
You're not
negotiated.
you're not
we
answering my
negotiated
question.
a contract with Steve Jones.
You're not answering my question.
We negotiated a contract.
Then why
with
are we
Steve
voting
Jones.
on it tonight if it's a done deal? If you negotiate it, why do we have to vote on it?
Mayor,
Yes.
real quick, no.
You're not answering my
Councilman
question.
Dickinson, when this was brought forward back in June, July, I remember explicitly asking, what you guys doing right now guaranteeing Steve Jones will be a contractor? Councilman Turk was the first one to say, no, there's no guarantee. We're just saying that it's a possibility. Now you're saying it's guaranteed.
No, I'm not saying it's guaranteed.
You all are twisting words.
You're not twisting anything.
You're twisting
Answer the
words
question.
in this.
If you can't, I'll ask Councilman Gavin. Why is Joliet taxpayer dollar money going to gov temps? Can any one of the 5 of you justify this?
Well, I'd like to go over the economic development numbers. When we take the salary.
Can you
of the
answer my
economic
question first?
Well, yeah, this will answer your question.
Okay.
Because it's going to, if we would happen to have the ability to retain him as a contract employee by our city manager that we intend to hire, if he decides to do that, this current city economic development package with their salary, including the stipends, the IMRF, the healthcare, the life, the dental, that total cost to the city of Joliet is $212.54.
Okay.
Or $212,000, 542. If we should do him as a contract employer with GovHR, the total cost would be, for the entire package with their fee, would be $169,624. A savings to the city of Joliet, $42,918 annually.
You still haven't answered the question.
Because
You could contract directly with him, or with Mr. Trisner or Mr. Jackson, or go down the, you don't have to pay gov temps to get in the contract with Steve Jones. So answer the question. Why would a penny of Joliet taxpayer dollars go to gov temps?
because that would be,
No, it's because it's what Mr. Jones wants, so he can collect his pension and collect the city salary. You're not being honest.
no guarantee
No,
for
no.
Mr. Jones.
You're not being
It's a
honest.
one month at a time position, and he could be removed from
You're not being
that
honest.
position. I am
I
being
answered the
honest.
question for you.
I think he did a fantastic job
That's
as
not the
economic
point.
development director, and I think he's done a great job as interim city manager.
Well, that's
So-
not the point. If you want him to stay employed here, then he shouldn't retire. When he retires, he should be treated like every other employee who ever worked for the city of Joliet. Mike Turk, you've been up here 32 years. What retired employee did you do this for, other than Steve Jones? And what makes this so special?
We didn't have a situation like this. Mr. Jones told us many months ago, March 1st, he was retiring. Whether we had a new city manager or not.
Well, no.
Can I finish?
Let's be honest. He told you when you initially said no to this, he was retiring in 2 weeks. I was in the room. He told you, thank you for your consideration. I'll give you my notice tomorrow. I'm out of here in 2 weeks. You then flipped and then agreed to this bogus deal to keep him here last summer. That's what happened.
It was a long, okay, well, anyway.
Anyway, that's what happened.
This is a month-to-month contract, the way I understand it. So if we have a new city manager in here in 3 months, then Mr. Jones doesn't have, he's done in 3 months.
Mayor?
If he has it in.
Why do you make this like this? Yeah, it's just.
Let's be frank. Do any or all of the 5 people have had communications with Mr. Jones in which he's told you if you don't give him both these contracts, he's booking on you again?
No.
Just like
No.
you did back in July.
No.
No way to know that. Number 2, Councilwoman, in all due honesty, Are you advocating that everybody sitting at that table be fired and offered a lower salary to save the money you talked about?
No.
By contracting them?
I'm not.
It's special for
I'm not
Mr. Jones.
advocating for that. No.
It's special for Mr. Jones only?
Mr. Jones is retiring.
It's special for Mr. Jones. You can save the same money by doing that to those people with your spongy numbers.
You know, I'm not gonna mince words. This deal stinks. It's unethical. I'm not signing this. I'm sure the five of you are gonna pass it like you've been ramming everything else through. This is on you. I want no part of this.
Mayor, I have a motion. Motion to
Well,
table any,
there's a motion already on the floor.
no, motion to table any consideration of an economic development subcontract.
We have to deal with the first.
I think there's a motion on the floor.
But I believe a motion to table the item shuts it down.
I think your motion.
Well, there was no second on the motion.
Right. So I just shut it down with a motion if I get a second to table it. And we can move forward with what's on the agenda.
What's,
I would move.
Motion to
I
table
would
any
move the
discussion
motion
or
as it is on the
consideration.
agenda.
I can't hear, Mayor.
Motion to table any discussion or consideration of an additional economic development double dipping subcontract until the new city manager is hired.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second.
okay. And I apologize, I'm going to ask you to repeat it one more time. This motion and seconded to table any discussion or consideration of,
The economic development double dipping contract, on the subcontract, until the new city manager is hired to make that decision.
okay, motion to table any discussion or consideration of the economic development director position for the, until the new city manager is hired. Councilwoman Coleman?
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon?
No.
Councilman Turk?
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson?
No.
Councilwoman Gavin?
No.
Councilman Morris?
Aye.
You forgot
All
about
right,
me?
I'm sorry, Councilman Hug?
Aye.
Councilman Morris?
Aye.
Councilman Mudring?
No.
Mayor Overkirk?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Any other discussion on the motion on the floor?
Yeah,
Yes.
just to be clear, so, I don't know, like you, Mayor or Marty, so will Steve have to move into the city?
No, well, I'm speaking for you, but you made it clear you were not gonna move into Joliet. You didn't care what the ordinance said. This is basically when you forced, I don't want to say forced the hand, but when you got your way with the council during the summer. I think you made that clear. You have no intention of ever moving into Joliet. Is that correct?
That's correct, just due to family situation.
Okay. So no.
Okay, so our ordinance is not for contract employees, just new,
Correct.
okay,
Doesn't
gotcha,
apply.
okay.
Any other questions?
Now, are we back to considering the item that was already,
This is the city manager, and, you know, the question I have still is out there. Don Dickinson, you wouldn't answer it, Sherry Reardon, you wouldn't. If you want to contract with Steve Jones directly for on a month-to-month basis, that's one thing. But the idea that we're paying gov temps for an employee that's already here, it's ludicrous. And if one of the other three of you can justify this or explain why Joliet taxpayer money is going to gov temps, I'd like to hear it.
It's less money than we were paying today. The man has a right to retire. He has a pension, and he has paid into his pension. And he is in a unique position that he understands where we're at in our hiring process, our employees, and moving forward. I think he's our best bet to get this handled within a very short period of time here. And that's why I would vote for him.
Well, it certainly isn't less money because you're paying a 40% surcharge to gov temps. What would be less money is if you dealt directly with him.
That would be less money, but it's
Right.
still less money. Less
Mayor.
money than paying Gulf Tech. I mean, if we dealt directly with him, he would still have to go out and purchase his own workman's compensation insurance, his own liability
Right.
insurance. He would have to pay into his FICA and the like. In this case, GovTemp pays in. It's not like GovTemp gets 40% profit
Yeah,
on this.
but Joliet's paying for it, and we have a fiduciary duty to the people of Joliet, not to Steve. Steve, I think you did a great job as an economic development director. And if you were to return, not to retire, but to return to that role, I would support it. But this is not looking out for the people of Joliet, it's looking out for one person. You know, and Ms. Seko, I agree with your comments earlier. I don't think it's hard, I think a lot of people are reading between the lines of what's really happening up here. So, you know, that's all I have to say, yes.
And again, let's be clear and clear out the smoke here. We're saving money by turning a full-time position into a part-time position for the third largest city in the state. So that's kind of amateur hour. And you are right, Councilman Mudrin, that he has every right to retire at any point he wants. We don't, in my opinion, my lowly opinion, have the moral or ethical right to pump his double dipping full of steroids on the backs of the taxpayers.
So you think he's done?
He's double dipping, absolutely.
So everyone out here, including myself, who are on Social Security, are double dipping. Are you saying it?
If you work for a private company, which you do, that's between you and the private company. You're spending taxpayer dollars on this double dipping on steroids. This is public dollars, not private.
I spend taxpayers' money on Social Security.
You're entitled to your Social Security, and you're double dipping as you continue to work, if you are so allowed to. That, continuing to work, is private dollars, Councilman. You're spending public, you're spending Ms. Seko's dollars to give him, I would guesstimate, 100 and, what is it? 100, what, I can't even keep track
I
of
think
it.
it was 180 for city manager, and what was the economic development director, Kathy?
So you gotta take the 180 and to give a full picture of what you're trying to accomplish for this man is add in whatever his retirement level is now under the IMRF, 50, 70, I don't know what it is. This is double dipping, and again, you're blowing more smoke out there, Councilman Mudrin, by saying, look, you double dip in the private sector. That's between you and the private dollars that are given to you. These are public dollars you're giving away for this.
The total net is less, Councilman.
It's double talk.
It's double talk. Thank you, Mayor. You don't have to whisper it. Because you're reducing the third largest cities, to make that claim, you're reducing the third largest city's top position on the staff side to a part-time position. That's amateur hour.
It's absolutely not a part-time position, Larry. You know how many
1,800 hours versus 2,080?
Would you like to talk about holidays and vacation time?
It doesn't matter. It's defined as 1,800 hours.
Sounds like double dipping.
A full, it is double dipping, thank you.
Sounds like double talking.
Double dipping, you're right. Thank you.
Any other comments, questions?
Let's vote. Go.
Is there a motion for Council Memo 95-20, which is the resolution entering into an employee leasing agreement with GovTemps USA LLC and Illinois Limited Liability Company?
So moved.
Second.
Been motioned and seconded to approve a resolution entering into an employee leasing agreement with GovTemps USA LLC and Illinois Limited Liability Company. Councilwoman Reardon.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
To the people of the city of Joliet, my sincerest apologies that I cannot succeed in letting these five continue to waste your time and, more importantly, your money. I truly, from my heart, apologize to you. No.
Councilman Morris.
No.
Councilman Mudrin.
Yes.
Councilwoman Quillman.
No.
Motion carried 5-4.
Krista, I said before, when you present me the packet, remove this, I'm not signing this document, so.
Call a question?
Yes.
Marty, if the duly elected mayor doesn't sign the document, what happens?
I'll have to look into it.
Okay. Good. Thank you, Mayor. You're trying your darndest too. You really are.
Moving under award of contracts, Council Memo 97-20 was previously removed from the agenda. Council Memo 98-20, authorization to procure professional services for a subsurface soil investigation at 10 South Richard Street.
I'll jump in here. Although this looks like something that's a normal engineering type purchase, I'm going to have Kendall give a little background on it, and then I'm going to weigh in because this is a pretty complex matter. and we wanted to get the council to at least weigh in on where we may be going with this.
Thank you. Mayor and council, this particular house is in the Richards Grove subdivision. That is the site of the former Gerlach Barclow factory that burnt, totally destroyed back in 1995. The city went in and cleared the land and worked with home builders to create the Richards Grove subdivision. This particular home was built in 1997, and about 10 years after construction, started to experience the attached garage pulling away from the house. At that time, the warranty covered the repair. And 10 years after that repair, the homeowner is experiencing the same issue. So the staff reached out to several firms to get proposals on soil testing. And the scope of services is a couple of soil borings and testing for the soil moisture, as well as the compressive strength of the soil, as well as recommendations based on the test results for a possible solution for the settling issue that is going on. And that's, in a nutshell, that's the project.
Now, before I was interim city manager, I believe when Marty was interim city manager, there were some discussions happening with the homeowner as to whether the city would potentially buy the home. The city council was not interested in that. So we tried to see, is there something else we could do to really identify what exactly is causing this? We think that there is some movement of either it's stormwater runoff or some other sort of drainage that we didn't catch when 10 years ago this repair was done. So we're looking to potentially do subsoil surface investigations, see if there are some old pipes that exist. We could fill those, stop the movement of earth, because obviously if every 10 years there's going to be settlement to the point of where it's going to underwash a garage, we're not solving the problem. So even though this was within my spending authority, I mean, clearly if the city finds that there are some problems out there, the next question is, does the city want to go a little bit further and work to mitigate the garage that's settled, the driveway that's settled, and get involved in some additional expenses. This was at the Land Use Committee, and I know there are several folks here who were at that meeting. You could weigh in on this too, but it's our recommendation that we move forward with this, and potentially if we find that there is a fix and a solution, that the city get involved in funding that. So that's why we're bringing this forward. This isn't just a subsoil investigation. It's something that involves a little bit further commitment. And obviously the question is, well, how much would that cost? At this point, we don't know, but if the council is willing to keep investigating and keep looking with you know, the expectation perhaps that if there is a reasonable cost solution that we're involved in it, then certainly this is something that you should support. If the city thinks that our role in this is over, then this is certainly not something we should support.
Mayor?
Yes.
Question, this all happened long before I got involved with city council. This land was the former site of something, Kendall?
Yes, there was a factory that was there and a fire. Unfortunately, the structure was totally destroyed and the site was cleared. We think that this particular house was located over what could have been one of the basement areas of the former factory, and there could be fill below the house and perhaps some cavities that keep creating the problem.
On the old factory property?
Correct.
Now, as I'm loath to ever even consider that the city be in the private development industry, instead of letting it to professionals, how many other houses were built on that property and sold by the city besides this one?
I believe there were a total of 10 homes in that subdivision.
So there's 9 other homes that we don't know?
Well, there's 9 other homes that have not experienced this particular issue.
As of yet?
As of yet, yes.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Mayor?
Yes.
You know, Mr. Dixon is here, I don't know if he has any questions or comments, but I think we've all been out there and looked at it. I know Councilman Hud, you had talked to him on the phone, and the pictures I saw from the digging they did before, it seemed like, I don't think anybody else is out there is having a problem, but I think when they knocked the factory down, I think a lot of that fill was put in to where his home is sitting on. Because when they dug some of it up, you could see just, you know, conduit and all kinds of stuff that's sitting underneath the home. So, you know, I agree. I think this is a good way to start to see if we need to go further or what we need to do.
Mayor?
Yes.
Kendall, when we discussed the land use, can you explain the caps that were discussed?
Yeah, so we discovered 2 laterals coming in from a water main in the street that had not been capped. So they were essentially open laterals. Not quite sure what the purpose of those pipes were, but the utilities department did do a camera test, and you could see some sediment in those pipes. So there probably was something moving through there at some time.
And you said they had to be capped because they were never capped and they should have been, because I recall.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. May I just ask one question? This kind of precedes me as well, but I have been to Mr. Dixon's and I have seen this. But let me ask this, and we talked about debris up underneath. When they first found that, Kendall, was there any preparation to solidify that was under there or take it out of there?
Yeah, unfortunately, I think when this was done, I was in a very junior position at the city, and this was kind of out of my wheelhouse, if you will, so I'm not quite sure what was done at that time.
Okay, but there is something there that is causing the ground to shift.
Yes, two times in 20 years after the initial fix, so there's something going on below the surface.
There's something there. Okay, thanks, Kim.
Yes.
Welcome.
Generally, we vote on the award of contracts together as a whole, but due to the length of discussion, would it be appropriate to vote separately?
I think so. Does anyone want that removed? Or?
No, I don't. I think we can vote them all.
Vote it all together?
Okay.
I have no problem.
I did have one question.
Yes.
Steve, you had said that, and I can't speak for the council, but my recollection was that it wasn't that we didn't want to purchase the house. I think the buyer and the city, we weren't in agreement of a price. Does that sound about right, council? Or I didn't want it to sound like we just wasn't interested in working with Mr. Dixon.
I believe I had the clerks pull the minutes, and there was a consensus not to buy the home.
Not to buy it.
Right.
Because we wasn't in agreement with an amount. Not like we just didn't want to deal with it.
I'm looking at the clerk who may know more about the history.
I believe the minutes said that there was consensus for no offer.
Well, I thought Mr. Dixon had made an offer of what he wanted, and the county. Y'all help me. Maybe I'm wrong.
Terry, I agree with Terry because that was the conversation.
I just wanted to sound like we wasn't interested in working with Mr. Dixon. We just couldn't come to an agreement on the amount. Does that about sound right, Mike?
That to me,
I can't recall, but there was a discrepancy in the prices.
In the price.
But Mr. Dixon can probably.
To me, it just sounds.
Can you make?
You like to talk.
I mean, the minutes may have simplified.
Right.
You know,
I'm just saying, I didn't want it to
Just do a
sound like
soil test.
we weren't in agreement. We weren't trying to work with Mr. Dixon.
Exactly.
So what's in front of us
Mr. Dixon is there.
I know, we're talking about doing a soil test.
Right.
All right, let's go.
Right. I just wanted to be clear on that. Yeah, that's all.
Okay.
So moving on to Council Memo 99-20, it's an award of contract for the Fairmont Meter Replacement Project. Council Memo 100-20, award of contract for under drain installation in the lawn seating areas at DuPage Medical Group Field. Council Memo 101-20, approve of professional engineering services agreement for the West Side Wastewater Treatment Plant Influent Pump Station Phase 3 improvements. Council Memo 102-20, approve a professional services agreement for the water distribution model and master plan update. Council Memo 103-20, award a professional services agreement for the Phase 3 engineering services for the Black Road Traffic Signal Interconnection Improvements Project. Council Memo 104-20, approve a professional services agreement for the Water Loss Control Program. And Council Memo 105-20, award a contract for the Old Joliet Prison exterior lighting. It's recommended Council Memos 98-20 through 105-20 be approved.
So moved.
Excuse me, Mayor.
Yes.
I'm going to have to abstain from voting on 105-20. So do we have to take that out then? Sorry.
You okay with that?
I would defer to legal, but I believe we could just make a note of that. in
Yeah,
there.
we can just make a note of that.
No, no.
We've done that in the past.
Okay.
Oh. Which one are you abstaining from, Councilwoman?
The prison lighting.
Okay, so we're doing that separate?
No.
No, he just said make a note that I'm not
Just
voting
make a
on
note
that.
that she's abstaining.
Well, I'm going to be voting against it, so do we have to make another note, or do we have to separate it out?
We can vote on that item.
Well, I have to
separately.
abstain, so,
Right.
period.
Okay, so there be a motion to approve Council Memos 98-20 through 104-20, and we will vote on 105-20 separately.
Thank you.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and seconded to approve, Councilman Turk,
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson,
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin,
Aye.
Councilman Hug,
Aye?
Councilman Morris,
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin,
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman,
Abstain.
No,
98 to
we
104.
removed it.
104.
Oh, I'm sorry. Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon.
Aye.
Motion
Thinking about
carried.
why I have to abstain. Okay.
Next is Council Memo 105-20, award a contract for the Old Joliet Prison exterior lighting. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Been motion and seconded to approve. Councilman Dickinson,
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin,
Aye.
Councilman Hug,
Again, and I didn't really delve into this. This is just another example, it's just a comedy of errors of the city continuing, city representatives to do what's best left to private sector. This is what got Mr. Dixon into the situation. And Mr. Dixon, I enjoyed our conversation on the phone. We talked for quite a long time. We're not here to do private developments, to build houses, to manage entertainment facilities, to buy. So when does it stop? When do we stop shooting ourselves in the foot? When do we stop proving Einstein correct that the complete definition of insanity is doing the same thing again and again and again and expecting a different outcome? No.
Councilman Morris,
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin,
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman,
Now I abstain. Thank you.
Councilwoman Reardon,
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Motion carried. Under amendments, change orders, and payments, Council Memo 107-20, approve change order number 2 for the Rock Run at West Park Interceptors Rehabilitation Project. Council Memo 108-20, approve amendment number 3 to the professional services agreement for the Essington Jefferson Interceptor Sewer Project. Council Memo 109-20, approve change order number 3 and payment request number 14 for the 2018 electrical maintenance assistance contract. Council Memo 110-20, approve revision of funding for change order number 2 and payment estimate number 6 and final for the Logan Avenue roadway project. It's recommended Council Memos 107-20 through 110-20 be approved.
So moved.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye?
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson.
Aye.
Motion carried. Next is the city manager's report.
Thank you. One item. As everyone knows, we have been undertaking a lot of staff review related to the petition that's been submitted for the North Point development. On the current schedule, we are still scheduled for Monday, the 24th, to have the Plan Commission hear the petition. Just give a little bit of word of warning. We're really working hard to resolve some internal language issues with regard to that agreement. It's our expectation that we will be able to get this posted by tomorrow, but just in case, we'll make sure that everyone in the media and public knows that it'll get delayed if it is. but it's our expectation that we might be able to pull this thing together. And it's us, it's internally just coming up with some language that we think will reflect the best interests of the city and give the Plan Commission something to really start reviewing. And then eventually, as that negotiation moves forward, if it is successful, certainly giving the city council something to review for the best interests of the community. So that's it, we'll keep you informed.
New business not for final action or recommendation.
I have nothing, Your Honor.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Pat? Jan?
No.
Jerry? Mike? Meeting.
Public comments. Is there anyone that would like to speak under public comments? Sir?
My name is Andre Dixon. Originally, I didn't think it was necessary to come up here, but I heard some double talk going on. I live at 10 Richard Street in Joliet, and what happened was, it was more like 8 years after I purchased the house, the garage started separating. The garage was rebuilt by the warranty, according to the engineers and Dave Mackley Construction. And less than 8 years again, it separated. The city dug up 2 areas in my yard and found a lot of debris that was already there that should have been removed. The pipes that they're talking about shouldn't have been there. And I'm not sure if that's what's causing the damage to the driveway and the garage separating from the house. But I know when they dug it up 2 years ago, the city, according to the document, offered to purchase the house. And now where we at, they're talking about doing some testing. We know what's down there. You can see the wall from the, that was there. You can see the conduit was there. They want to say that where that pipe is, where they talk about doing the study, they want to say that's the problem, but if you look in the backyard, you see that's going down as well. So there's no guarantee. It was an offer to buy the house, and now it seems like it's been going on for over 2 years now, since I got an offer in writing to purchase the house, and it's falling apart. And it's falling apart because there's stuff down there that shouldn't have been there. All that stuff should have been removed. So, the city made the offer to me. I'm just tired.
Hey, you.
I sold the house to me.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak under public comments?
Thank you to the council members and the mayor who voted no
Legal, I
to
think,
what
maybe.
I call highway robbery here of the taxpayers. In the 9 months since the 5 of you have taken control of our city, our taxes have gone up, our fees have gone up, our parking has gone up. Our city is now starting to look like what happened to the country club. It's now turning into an abysmal failure. Mr. Jones seems to have a Svengali-like hold over a lot of you. He's too good to live here, he won't be working full-time, and yet you gave him a special contract tonight. You know, I look over at Marty, and I bet you that he worked for far less money. He worked full-time, he worked after hours, and more importantly, he lived in our city. When I look at the people you're considering, Mr. Rooney, with his anti-union record of reducing union police, union firefighters, union public works employees, he's not a good fit. I look at Will Jones, he's worked in a town with 8,000 people, where the only African Americans were 2% of the population, the only Hispanics were 2% of the population. And, you know, I heard back in May that maybe Mr. Palmer was the one that you wanted, you five that is. And he doesn't need a consolation prize if he loses this election. You know, this job is not a consolation prize. This is not a training ground. You need to be able to hit the ground running, and we need someone who's honest. And I don't care about personality tests, and neither does anyone else outside of that dais. You know, the crime in this town has not been this bad since 1983. I would gladly put up my numbers against anyone else's. You know, we had a kid shot on Republic. We've got an armed robbery at the Verizon on Jefferson Street. So much crime, all in the 9 months since you took over. You must be really proud of yourselves. I know the taxpayers aren't. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Next is mayor and council comments.
Yeah, I'd just like to remind everybody, please don't text and drive. I was recently involved in an accident, and that was part of it. So yeah, if you could refrain from texting while driving, we greatly appreciate it.
Nothing.
Terry?
No. Pat?
Yes. Big couple weeks here for local police. Last week, we had 3 officers promoted to sergeant, Carlos Matlock, Stephen Deal, and Brian Prochaska.
Try it again.
I'm done. Now I'm on the Exchange Club. The Exchange Club was there. 2 officers are their officers of the year. Kevin Clendenin, I believe, and Hawk Hayduck. Congratulations. That's it.
Jim?
Nothing, thank you.
Sherry?
No.
Mike? I got a couple things. February 6th, I was invited to St. Paul's to talk to the third graders and their teacher, Ms. Turkowski. Thank you for the invite. It was a fun morning with the third graders. And I think some St. Paul's kids are going to be taking tours of city council or city hall moving forward. February 7th, I was invited to a forum downtown with the Attorney General Kwame Raoul. Chief Roaster and the command staff joined me. Thank you for coming down there with that. The Attorney General definitely is gun violence is going to be a prerogative for him, and we're glad to see Joliet was included in that discussion. February 10th, I attended a meeting of the Illinois Economic Policy Institute. We had a local labor was there, as well as John Growing. February 11th, the Park District had their legislative breakfast. Councilman Mudron, I know you were there. I do want to congratulate the Park District staff, their board, and Brad Stabb. It's kind of ironic, Councilman Dickinson, that you work for the Park District because they were facing a deficit last year, and they've been able to turn around without raising taxes. So credit to Brad Stabb and the board there. They're doing a great job at the Park District. February 12th, I was invited on WJOL in today's real estate program with Brent Wilk. Thank you, Brent. That was a fun about 40 minutes, able to promote Joliet. And then finally, February 13th, the Kiwanis Club at Joliet and the Zonta International both celebrate a 100-year anniversary. Councilwoman Quillman, you were there that day, so congratulations to both those great clubs in our city. That's all I have, Krista.
Is there a motion to go into closed session to discuss personnel, collective bargaining, land acquisition or conveyance pending or threatened litigation, after which the meeting will be adjourned?
Quick question, Mayor. Yes. What are we going into closed session for without giving details? But I mean, is there more than one subject? Are we going there with the city managers, continued city manager search? Are there any other items, Marty?
I don't have any items tonight. I thought that would be enough.
So it's just that, okay. Thank you.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Is there a motion and seconded to go into closed session to discuss personnel, collective bargaining, land acquisition or conveyance pending or threatened litigation, after which the meeting will be adjourned? Councilman Hug?
Since we're going in there to continue probably more than a half dozen meetings, we're down to 2 people. That got leaked out. There's a 5-vote majority to vote for them or not. Now we're doing a hoodoo voodoo personality test, and I guess we're going to hear about that. I'm not going to go to this meeting. You guys are wasting enough of my time. It's time to do you know what or get off the toilet here. And I'm telling you, I'll go home, finish the job you started in June. It's not going to change my opinion of the two that you brought as finalists. Like, I've made that clear in executive session. However, if you have a problem closing the deal tonight, call me. I will drive back very quickly in my car with a Ouija board, and maybe that will help. No.
Councilman Morris?
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin?
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman?
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon?
Aye.
Councilman Turk?
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin?
Aye.
Motion carried.